because it can pick up like,
I know, pick up some of the,
Now we're underway.
okay?
chat.
Okay, 7 PM on October 16th, I'll bring the Board of Selectmen's meeting to order, starting with a roll call from my right.
Paul Sanderson?
Chester Duraki.
Sean Morgan.
Jim Ralston. Chip Huzzy.
Okay, we have a quorum and the meeting is being recorded. Okay, the first order of business is the approval of minutes from October 2nd. Anybody have any comments? Have you had a chance to read them? Revisions, amendments?
None.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Move we approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Coakley update, Paul.
Nothing this week other than that on Wednesday there'll be a subcommittee meeting as part of the groundwater advisory where we're starting in on the process. I think I told you the results of our last meeting, which is that we are on schedule to get a $200,000 grant along with the City of Portsmouth, and it would be a grant from these funds for preliminary engineering purposes to determine what the route might be and other impediments to what might happen. We're part of an initial award of something over $11 million that will go out to projects across the state. So we're in good shape to start.
Okay, good, good. Anybody like to add anything to that? No? Any questions?
Yeah, I'm continuing to work with Kelsey from the skier company on the questionnaire that is going to be done as like a Google or Survey Monkey that's going to be put onto our website for residents to chime in on what they want to know, more information, ways we can help them with the Coakley matter as far as that technical assistance.
Okay, great. Next item is the town treasurer position advertising.
Okay, yeah, and advertising is kind of an awkward term to put it, but what the board had talked about was for the treasurer, since it will be appointed, is a job description, wages, whether it would be an hourly wage or a stipend. So I worked with the town clerk on this because that's the position that works most closely with the treasurer. We both sent out listservs to our respective organizations. What we found was that the majority of all treasurers don't do the state deposit or the town deposits for town clerks. That they tend to be possessive and don't want to let that deposit leave their hands, which was kind of surprising to both of us. The wage range was between $3,500 and $8,000 for an appointed or an elected treasurer. I also checked with NHMA as far as the statute. If it's appointed, can we direct it as an employee? And the answer was no. It worked the same as an elected or appointed town clerk tax collector. The statute is, the position is statutory whether you elect them or appoint them. They can still set their own hours. You can ask them to do additional things and it's up to them if they want to do it. Just like a town clerk. So that was a little disappointing, thinking that we could, as an employee. Other towns have gotten around it by hiring a full-time finance director who is also the treasurer. In Exeter, the town manager is the tax collector and has a full-time deputy tax collector who's also the treasurer. So they've worked it in different creative ways. But so the job description that I did was based off one that MRI had put together for Danville. And it basically follows the statute. And the big thing was on the deposits, whether it be state deposits as well as town deposits. So the way I've written it was receives monies from departments and town clerk, and after verification makes deposits in accordance with RSA 4129A. And then as far as what the wage would be, our current stipend is $5,000. That is low. It ends up being $419 a month. for 5 days a week that range from an hour at the minimum to 3 or 4 hours, at least twice a month for reconciliations. One day generally does the general fund reconciliation, the long one, and one for all the other 4 reconciliations they have to do. So looking at the range and talking with the town clerk, we recommend increasing it to $6,000 with deposit at the town funds. And if the person was willing to do town and state deposits, $7,000. Because it's 2 different banks, it's an extra weight, but it's really not a lot of other work. And it would remain as it is now as in a stipend for an appointed official would not be paid mileage. That becomes their 1099, they take the mileage at the IRS rate and deduct it.
Okay, Jim, you've been a treasurer, any comments?
Right, you'd be the biggest expert on it.
No, that sounds fair.
Does that sound fair?
Yep, you can find somebody who'll do it that's.
I think it sounds fair too. Any comments to All right, and now we'll entertain the motion. Everybody?
I move to approve the job description and advertisement for the town treasurer as written. The wages been $6,000, and if they do state deposits, it'd be $7,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. The only clarification is the job won't actually start until after the town meeting in March of
Right.
2018.
Yep.
At the termination of the current treasurer's term.
Right, so we'll say effective March, what is the second Tuesday? So we'll roughly March of 18, close enough.
Okay.
In the blank.
The present treasurer is not interested in.
I believe she is.
Oh,
She has not told me that she's not.
okay.
Okay. All right, state cancer cluster alternate.
This was based on the request from Jillian Lane to be appointed as an alternate to the State Cancer Cluster Commission. I checked with Martha Wassel like I was directed, and she said, fine, I wouldn't mind having an alternate. We didn't see that that was part of the option that the town had with the committee, although Jillian is welcome to attend the committee with Martha, which she did at the last meeting.
Okay. I think in this circumstance, while it isn't perfectly clear, if she's certainly very interested and Martha's acceptable to that, I think that's fine. To have her be an alternate, at least with our blessing.
With our blessing, okay.
To be, now, can she be an alternate? I mean, if
I don't
It
know.
wouldn't be an official alternate.
In our mind, she would be.
an unofficial alternate. Well,
Yeah,
maybe we,
And if they had a voting situation, it would be up to that particular board whether her vote would count or not. That's all.
exactly, yeah.
That's all. And other than that, I'm sure that they would have no objection to having someone such as her who's clearly got a very strong interest in it from being there.
I agree. So let's send a letter to her, all right, stating that we appreciate her interest in this and that, and just basically state what we just said, that
Okay.
we will consider her an alternate and, welcome her to attend all the meetings, and we will listen to her input during any of the board meetings that we have.
Okay.
Okay?
We need to make a motion on that then.
So moved.
Motion on what?
What you just said.
To appoint Jillian Lane as an unofficial alternate representative on the state's Cancer Cluster Commission.
Okay. You made the motion?
I make that motion.
I'll second it then.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Get it done.
Okay, the next item is the 9/11 public hearing reminder.
Yeah, this is just a reminder that next week, which is not a regular meeting, is the first hearing on the Bay Ridge Road change of name to Osprey Cove. There's also an email and packet that was into your mailboxes today from Chief Laurent.
She's out talking to one of her offices, I do believe.
Okay, that reviewed with the 911 Commission, they're comfortable with the numbering as it is. So there would be no new numbering, just a name change. So only changing a name does not require the public hearing process.
Right. So, and if there's no contest about the numbers.
Do you want to talk about the numbers for Bay Ridge for a second?
Oh, sure, yeah. Everybody should be happy about it,
If
right?
there's no contest.
Yes, there were a few grids that came across.
Oh, I'm sure, I'm sure. So I had talked with Jeannie after I talked to you today,
Mhm.
and she said she recommends that either have, do they have a homeowners association? in
Yes.
there? Having someone from the homeowners association, like their president or whatever, their grand poobah, sign something saying that they agree with the changes, just to have on file.
And
She said it's not necessary legally, but
I will reluctantly go along with this, as long as the numbers are posted. I mean, make the numbers very, very clear that are in front of the houses, because as I've always said, I don't care if between 1 and 13 there's a 1-inch strip of land and nobody can build there. If emergency responders have to go to number 13 and they come from outside of town and they round that corner,
yeah.
they're gonna go way past number 13 and have to turn around and come back.
From the beginning of this, the packet that goes out after you guys made the decision has a whole sheet about how to properly mark your house.
Yeah. Okay.
Whether people do it or not is a whole different thing.
Well, we'll leave this to the two head honchos there on that.
Well, and I
One
think,
association member, one not.
Right.
I think that, those towns that do the, donate $10 to the fire department and we come out and we give you that stake with the reflective number, I think we ought to look at that as a fundraiser.
I'll be honest with you, those things are ugly unless it's 55 miles an hour on Route 4.
They're very ugly, but boy, can we find you.
We did have a warrant article for them back,
Oh, Jesus.
I'm gonna say
10
8
years?
years
8
ago?
to 10 years ago, and it went down in flames.
Yes, it sure did.
Although, if there is a way for us to get just the retroreflective numbers, that we can put on attractive looking posts, then
Oh,
that-
yeah.
then that should be fine.
Right.
But-
Right, it's the reflective number that's really helpful,
The
so
green is ugly.
it's great if people put on their mailbox and their mailbox is at their end of the driveway. But we
I
heard from people that have big banks of mailbox.
But as Chip says, if they're on the wrong side of the road, the mailboxes.
Now, mailboxes are bad, they're evil.
Yes, they are.
They're
But,
evil.
we also include in the packet from the post office what they say is the regulation for your mailbox. But no one follows it and no one does anything about it, so.
Well, that's true, because if you did, there would be no more granite posts.
You're right, and there would, and it's,
Snowplows wouldn't be nailing them.
it's X amount of inches from the road, it's X amount of inches for the post, I mean, it's,
My understanding is we don't need a public hearing to change the road name.
that's correct.
No, you don't.
Okay, I would just suggest that we don't do it this evening.
Yeah,
What?
yes.
We're not doing it this evening.
That's all I'm saying, just
No.
if
Well, let me-
residents want to be here to see and have their 2 cents, that's fine.
And what I'm suggesting is we don't even need to have one next week. I think the RSA states if there is no contention regarding the numbers or the street names, then we don't need a public hearing.
Right.
I'm pretty sure the RSA's state that.
So if you wanted to drop the 23rd, I would suggest still having the November one, just like Paul said. So just have it as line item that that's when it's gonna change, or that's the vote taking night. So if people want to come in and
Yes.
say something.
And on the numbers, I'm not sure that it's easy to go to someplace like Lowe's and get reflective numbers.
No, it ain't. I've been trying to do something like that.
It is, but they're not necessarily
They're
the right
about
size.
this high.
Yeah,
Exactly. So maybe there's a source that we could get, like we do with highway signs, so that, I don't mind buying it, isn't that I want the town to buy it, but it just can't get it otherwise.
yes, I can
We should-
definitely do that.
We should standardize the size of those numbers.
They are standardized for
Right,
the
It's supposed to be,
instructions.
but, in through the town, that we need to fix that.
And that's fine. I just like to have a source here so that residents can purchase them.
Yes, yeah,
They're only a few dollars, it's just we can't get them.
absolutely. And it might not be a bad thing to have them
Right.
in the town office and be able to sell them for the price that we buy them for. You know, not make money, but at the same time, offer it as a service.
Letters have already gone out to all the residents that there's the meeting next week.
Well, there may need to be, depending how we do tonight, too.
Right,
I'm just saying, if we don't finish our budget work, it'd be great to have that meeting anyway.
right. So if the residents show up,
If the residents show up, we'll put it in,
Then fine,
that's
yeah.
all, yeah.
But Charlotte was gonna send out another letter, right?
depending on what happens.
That's right.
Then it
Not
would-
tonight, okay.
The only other question, are we gonna be calling it Osprey Cove Road or Osprey Cove?
It can be either. The name that came to me, but it was through several people, was Osprey Cove. And Cove is acceptable, but you can add a road, a way, a trail, or whatever at the end if you want.
But then there's Serenity Cove nearby, so it kind of makes it nice that it's like the cove area.
It
And
could,
it really is a cove, even though there's no Osprey.
right, right,
We'll import some.
right.
Steal the swans from Swan Neck.
Plenty of blue heron, but that's
Heron
it.
Cove.
That's taken, right.
Right.
Okay, so the way it's left is that we're not going to hold an official meeting for next week,
Okay,
but if anybody shows up, we will address the,
all right. And so
but
Charlotte,
you
send out a
all
letter.
talk to everybody on your streets and there's no contention?
We'll make sure that the results of what we have here tonight are out there and so people understand.
Okay, okay, good.
Send a letter. November meeting.
All right. Any other old business anybody'd like to bring up?
Well, library update, the trustees met and they made an appointment with the planning board for November 2nd, I believe it is, for their addition.
Okay.
That's all.
All righty. New business. Review of town administrator's bi-weekly report. Everybody have a chance to read that? If anybody has any questions on it.
You like the new parking lot light? Did you
Yeah.
notice? Yeah.
Oh, you can't help but notice. It's
What's
awesome.
that?
The
the
new
new
parking
lights.
lot
Oh,
light,
yeah.
Yeah,
much better.
big
Yes, I
difference.
missed it.
Open up the door, you'll see it.
And I've gotten several just calls or emails from residents that they like it. So
All right.
starting next month, we'll be able to start to see
The
the
savings.
change, yeah. And I'll track it to see actually what the payback is.
There's a big savings. I mean, I've got one of those, I bought one of those meters and I put them on one of my lights to see what the difference was. There's, I mean, when you relate that to the town, there's a big savings there. Yep. All right, tax warrant.
Okay, the tax rate was set by DRA at 1664. We tried to get it as flat as we could, but with all the rounding, that's where it ended up. So I have the tax warrant for $12,081,694. It's been reconciled with the town clerk's books and numbers, and the overall variance is $438, which ends up being about the same variance that we have all the time. It's like 438, 384. And it's generally the result of 3 or 4 properties we have that have an elderly exemption and a veteran's credit, but the assessment is low. So it ends up being a few negative bills. And so that sets it off. And we also have 5,300 in building value that's unmatched. That is somewhere into the system, in one of our systems, and it's not matching up. So we're not quite sure what that is. And then one exemption that was deleted from one half the year to the other. So that accounts for 250 of it. So it's about as close as you get. You're allowed like a 0.5% waiver, and we're like, yeah,
Okay. Any questions?
super close.
The board's appreciation to you and the tax collector for doing a great job.
And our last tax rate was
1665.
5, so we're down to 1 cent.
1 penny, yeah. And the board had asked for a flat rate. This only used 85,000 of undesignated fund balance. We still have 1.76 in undesignated fund balance.
Great.
And the overlay ended up, instead of 25, it ended up like 26. That's where they kind of try to do the rounding. Each individual rate has to be a full penny.
Mhm.
And so that's why it's hard to say I want my rate to be exactly this. Because you can't have the school rate being, 13.5 cents and the town rate 13.5. They all have to be full.
Okay.
Excellent.
It's a much simplified process now that it's all online.
Okay, the next item is the plant damage.
Can we have a motion on that and the signatures?
You what?
Can we have a
Oh,
motion on the
I'm-
tax rate and the signatures?
Sorry about that.
The bills can't leave until she gets this tomorrow.
I entertain a motion to approve the tax warrant.
I move to approve the 2017 tax warrant in the amount of $12,081,694.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, plant damage at Ralston Park.
Okay, Laura Viego submitted a bill to the town in the amount of $207.54 for reimbursement of plants that were either cut down or damaged at Ralston Park. Most of these plants were things that either she bought, the Women's Club bought, or one other organization.
Great Bay Stewards.
Great Bay Stewards. So she's requesting reimbursement for this damage.
All right, I've been in touch with Laura about this. I was hoping last week to get together with Chip, Paul, and myself and go down there and try to, figure out what it is we need to do so this plant damage doesn't occur. And I'm not pointing a finger at anybody because I don't, there's no proof that anybody did anything. But that being said, I just think that for the $214 there were plants damaged. I personally think it's a good idea just to pay it off. I'm going to get together with Laura and Chip and Paul. When she gets back, she's gone for 2 weeks. And we can go down to the park and let's just, remedy this whole thing so it doesn't happen again.
I thought she said in her letter that she watched somebody do it.
That she what?
That she watched somebody do it. I'm just curious how.
No, I don't think she watched it happen.
No, it says it doesn't.
No, the grass was mowed and the damage was
I
found
would
that day.
not have
or the day after.
requested reimbursement from the town for the plants if I had not seen a turtle head, freshly painted, planted, protected, and in bloom weed whacked.
Yeah, but that doesn't say she saw somebody do it.
Right.
She just saw the turtle.
She saw the
And the
damage.
weed whack.
My problem is this is the second time it's happened. It's not the first. And every time that area's been mowed, it's happened. So we do gotta find out what's going wrong. But there's never been an apology offered and there's only been excuses. And I think there should be an apology offered by the maintenance crew.
Well, let's go down, let's have that meeting and we'll go down there.
Vaughn, I'm not gonna put it off. I think once it's over.
You have to put it off. She's gone for 2 weeks. So you're gonna have to put it off. Unless you're gonna go down there with you, Paul, and me and say, all right, what are we gonna do?
Well, actually, that's what we should do, is find out to stop it from happening.
Well, I have a better suggestion.
What?
I say we should we should pay this bill, and then we should stop all town maintenance of that area, give it over to the Conservation Commission, and then Paul Hayden won't touch it again.
That's what he's getting paid to do, Bill Paul.
No. It's up to us what we do in particular areas. And if we give that over to the Conservation Commission, it's over to the Conservation Commission. They have a particular plan for that worthless piece of ground. I don't know what that plan is, I don't care what that
It
is.
isn't Conservation Commission. We have nothing to do with it.
Well, wait a minute, that's not what she says.
We have nothing to do with
That
that.
is not what she says.
This is the Women's Club and the Great Bay Stewards that paid for that.
Well, they may pay for it, and I don't mind reimbursing that, but I believe the control of it, she believes, is through the Conservation Commission.
Now, should
And
we
I say,
believe that?
and I say, fine, give it to the Conservation Commission and we won't touch it again.
Okay, but this is what I'm proposing, and I think it's a good idea. I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill here. Let's get together with her, the four of us, and when she gets back, I asked her to give me a call when she gets back, and we'll get together, go down there, we'll go over it. I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill on this thing, all right? Period.
One thing I would strongly suggest, during the 2 weeks that she's gone, Paul does not touch it.
Shouldn't have to, really. I'm in a slow growing period right now.
That's right. For these 2 weeks, don't touch it.
Okay. Then you will ask Paul not to touch it for the next 2 weeks?
I'll try to catch up with him, yeah.
Okay, good. And when she gets back, when she calls me, I'll give you a call.
Yep.
And we'll get together, all right?
Yep.
Good. All
Do I
right.
process the reimbursement now or afterwards?
Reimburse anytime you want to, just,
Need a motion to do that.
yeah.
I move to approve reimbursement to Laura Biego in the amount of $207.54.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm just looking quickly at that, what we just passed. And the last line, she says, I am submitting a bill for $5.36 for 8 nails or something, but I don't see that in the thing, so I'm wondering if she's expecting another $5.36.
She'll have to bring that back up before the board.
As I don't know.
Okay. All right, let's get on to the 2018 proposed budget. I just want to make mention that I was reading the Wall Street Journal and USA Today. I think it's good to note that the Consumer Price Index for September was 2.5% above the fiscal year 2016 COLA baseline. I think we all need to know that because I'm a firm believer that if a business is doing well, it's to see to it that the employees are at the least able to keep up with the previous year's ability to save after expenses. And that's where I am coming from. So expenses, if expenses are 2.5% from 2016 to now, then I think that raises should at least reflect that percentage. That's my thought. By the way, Social Security.
Only went up 2%.
Whoa.
VA only went up 2%.
Big.
And my civil service went up 2%.
Well, 246%, holy mackerel. No wonder you're taking trips to Hawaii.
Maybe we should do what the governor did. Should we do what the governor did?
Do what the what?
What the governor did. He gave himself an 18% raise.
I don't think we should be that drastic.
And meanwhile, state employees don't have contracts.
However, if I was sitting over there, I'd probably agree with you. So anyway, I would like, you know.
One question on your CPIs. There's many CPIs?
Yes, there are.
Okay, and so I just want to.
This one includes everything. This is
Okay.
the one that includes gas, and I know there are different CPIs.
So
but that's,
this is the most complete one? Okay.
Yeah. And that could change, and you know, it changes month to month, but.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
But
So
nonetheless.
far, I agree with his figures because that's what I saw too, is 2.5.
okay.
I mean,
I didn't
honestly,
see 10.
I would go with 3%. But I would never go any lower than 2.5%. Discussion.
Your 2.5s across the board?
Yeah.
Everybody?
Well, I've been speaking with Mr. Marchese, our building inspector, and he has presented the results from the surveys around, and I told him that basically we weren't looking to give a big increase in pay, and he pointed out that it's not really so much the increase in pay, it's bringing the job up to what the surrounding towns are paying. So I feel that he probably does deserve to be bumped up some, above the 2% or 3%, whatever we decide for the other people.
Just for the record, when he brought up his argument for the increase, he used dollars, but actually the building permits are down by, I think, 200 to 300 over last year. So actually, the workload is actually down.
I don't think so.
I know so.
That maybe the number of permits, but not the dollar value.
That's exactly right.
Oh,
Dollar
okay.
value is up because
Yeah.
we have the big project down here.
Right, that was
Okay, yeah.
86,000.
But there's not as much work as they used to be.
All right.
So that's, I have a major problem with a big increase and not as much work.
I think we should probably just defer him till we get there, and then we'll talk it out.
We should what?
Just defer his
Until-
discussion of his position till we get there.
Yeah,
Okay.
Page by page.
I agree.
Okay. One other thing I would like to bring up before we start is the fire department issue. I asked Ralph to review his budget. Because Ralph, about a year ago, Paul and Ralph and I sat down, and Ralph indicated that his business is growing like crazy, and he may not be able to be with us in 2 years from that date a year ago. So the budget he proposed didn't really reflect that, so I asked him if he would redo it to reflect somebody being able to come in and take his spot. So Ralph has redone it, and
Sure. I sat down, after we went, from the last meeting we had, and Paul brought up of maybe taking the building inspector and making him the fire chief, and I really did some deep thought about that, and I said, I don't believe that's gonna work at all, it ain't gonna help me at all, it ain't gonna help the town at all. So I went back, and I said, I sat down with Vaughn a little bit, and I said, boy, if I could get 2 officers in the station full-time and go 4 days on, 4 days off, and have a rotating schedule, I would probably stay on a little longer if someone could take some of the responsibilities that I have going, like, such as payroll and stuff like that. So I got together with Karen on this, and I think you people already have a sheet on this.
Right, it was in their packets.
Okay. Of the payroll, and to put 2 people on for 8 months next year, the extra would be $128,297 with all the benefits, and we have a cut in part-time wages of $50,000. So that reflects off that. That's what we come up with the $128,297. The impact would be 178 is beginning minus the 50.
Okay.
Does that mean that you're not going to have 2 people?
Nope, we're still gonna have the 2 people, so what we're gonna have is have 2 lieutenants is what I'm looking at, and have them overseeing the other people, and because there'd be 1 more person in there during the day, so that's where our cut's gonna come from. The part-timers will not have to be there, there would just be still 2 people, 1 part-timer, 1 full-timer.
One lieutenant and 1
Right.
part-time, okay.
I want people to walk into the department and see the same 2 faces all the time and get the same answers of what's going on, burn permit wise and inspection wise and all, and hand out different responsibilities.
So if we step back just a touch, the plan is 24/7 coverage, right?
Nope.
Okay, now, that's why I asked.
It's 4 days on, 4 days off, 12 hours a day.
But, and the rest of the time, the department dark?
Nope.
Overall, yes, you were correct. Overall, it's 24/7
Coverage.
coverage.
Oh, coverage, yes, because they still got the $7 per hour standby pay. I'm sorry.
And what that means is 24/7, somebody is here awake.
Nope, it does not. It means they're within 10 minutes of away from the station or at the station, one of the 2.
Okay,
At night.
so therefore, it's not really 24/7 coverage, it's a 24/7 modified coverage.
Right. It's a,
18
again, that's a
hours.
stepping stone for where we're heading.
Okay, I just, obviously, the budget committee should be asking the same thing, okay? And right now, that's the level of coverage we're providing?
Right now we are, yeah, with part-time people,
Okay.
but we back up a little bit, the part-time people I'm having a problem with is because I got a revolving door. Every time one of them up to an A, advanced, and also a firefighter 2, they're getting hired at different departments. So I got a big revolving door what's going on.
As full-time firefighters, in other words, you're training for other
We're,
departments. Yeah.
we're working on training for all the big cities and even smaller towns in Maine. One of my guys just went for an interview in Berwick, Maine. They're hiring one person at this point. But, this is a replacement for them, but.
Okay.
So it's a big revolving door, and my pool of people is getting a little bit smaller because the pool of firefighters coming into this, I guess you call it industry, or wanting to be a full-time firefighter is going down. I'm seeing that. I'm seeing there's no new people coming into Fire One. There's no new people. It's just dwindling down, just like the volunteers were dwindling down some. We've lost probably, since Chief Maloney passed away, we probably lost more than half. We're down.
One of the reason, I think it's very important that this issue be brought before the Budget Committee and the public, all right? Questions that I have is, are we going to run short of personnel in the near future? We have gone from when Maloney died to today, from 33 to 15 personnel working at the fire department, all right? If so, how are we going to cope with this problem? It's a problem. Is our fire station outdated? These trucks barely fit through the doors. So do we need a new fire station? This all has to be brought to the surface. The people have to know this, because they're spending money. They may be spending money on a library. We may be spending money on water going up and down Breakfast Hill Road. These are major expenses, and we've got to spend money on our infrastructure. So this has to be put into the mix, and the public needs to know that this money has to be spent so they can decide, well, do I spend it here, or do I spend it there, or do I spend it both places? But at least they'll know that they have an option and a choice. So another question is, do we need to think about a gradual time to full-time personnel, a gradual change to full-time personnel? And if so, how do we make that change? This is what Ralph and I sat down and talked about. I brought up to him the possibility of hiring a retired part-time chief and having the chief come in and work 32 or 34 hours, whatever it
Up to
might be.
34.
But Ralph says, then your response to that was,
32, it's your group.
what?
It's up to 32. 34 is our group, 32
Okay,
is.
32.
Yeah.
So it'd be 32.
Yeah. Which, I thought at the onset was a good idea, but Ralph says it,
Can I speak on that a little bit?
yep,
The ride chief was part-time down there. They went through two chiefs at 32 hours a week. They were paying the part-time chief $65,000 a year. The chief is not going to help get the calls done. And I think that's our responsibility, is getting the calls done in a timely manner. The chief is going to be doing meetings like I'm doing really now, meetings in the evenings, and that's part of his 32 hours. And how do I try to save money by paying somebody a fee, something like that, as a part-timer?
Well, let's step back one more step. MRI is doing some work for us. Do we
Yep.
have an ETA as to when we have a report?
We're trying to get this report the first week in November. My fire program, I'm trying to pull out times and everything else, and the times they're giving me is crazy, because in 2016, it says my average time is 23 minutes, and I'm saying, well, that's nuts. So now we're trying to get back through the reports and trying to get that corrected.
Response time is?
23 minutes for the time we get called to the time we get on scene, and that's not even close to being right.
Okay.
So that's the problem I'm having, and it's not MRI that has the problem, it's our program that has the problem at this point.
Now I'm going to get back to the beginning. If we were to put aside the budget committee and everything else for a minute, what level of coverage do you think is appropriate for the Greenland Fire Department to provide to the people? How many hours of coverage and how many people? And don't worry about money for a minute.
Well, it should be 24 hours a day, and it should have 4 people per shift, and it's gonna be 4 shifts. So
Okay.
you're looking at,
Yeah.
So that's building an entire department from scratch,
right?
and that would take to have that many people is gonna take, 16 people?
Yeah.
Okay, and so therefore
And
that's,
if you're gonna have 16 people, then you're really gonna have to have a full-time chief, so.
oh, absolutely. And at that point, we're looking at something on the order of a $2 million per year budget.
Yeah, we're done, you know, which
And
I
so
don't,
that's as much as the whole town budget, right?
I'm not looking to try to do that, I'm just, you know,
Okay.
again, we were talking about this years ago.
So
stepping
now,
stones.
now I'm gonna test a little bit and say, why do we need to have a 24/7 full-time firefighter department, given that the majority of our calls are ambulance-related, and that we have relatively few structure fire-related?
Because it's firefighter EMTs is what we've been hiring, and they're covering both sides of this.
Okay,
And they're, you know, we've done more mutual aid this year for some reason, because other towns are having their fires, and thank God they're having, and we're really not. But, you know, fires have come up, but our EMS, we need both sides of that for motor vehicle accidents and things like that. Most of it is EMS, don't get me wrong. We're probably at 70 or 80%, 70% anyway, of the EMS.
is it fair to say that if we were starting on our building blocks, that we should hire our EMS first and have our firefighters second because of mutual aid possibilities with other places?
We need to do them together.
They need to be done together.
Yep, I think it should be firefighter EMT, and that's, you know, that's how it should go.
But I don't think we need to hire 4 per shift.
No,
No, he gave an ideal situation.
Paul.
Yeah, that's an idea.
No, I agree with you, Chip, I'm not.
You have 2, but you're still looking probably at a full-time chief, you're talking, what, 8 people minimum?
Right. If we're not looking at budget at this point, and this point, we were looking at what I was looking at is putting in 2 lieutenants during the day, and so they could grasp what was going on and have a part-timer with them every day.
And then we know with that number of people, this building can't accommodate that number of people.
Of having,
If you had 8.
if we had 3-point shift, no, it's not gonna accommodate, no, that is not gonna happen.
Okay, so therefore, we're looking, just so people understand, we're looking at an investment of a couple of $1 million on the building, and then an annual budget of $1 million to $1.5 million.
Right. That's if we, yes, full-time.
How far down the road would that be?
Well, and
The way the town's growing, we can get another, and I'm probably guessing, probably 5 to 7 years, the way we're going, and we're increasing, we're trying not to do it every year, but, you know, we're increasing all the time. The amount of runs we're doing, we got, 73 houses out back, we got more and more ambulance calls, and it's been kind of crazy, we're up probably 20% on calls this year right now, as it stands right now.
Don, do you have any ideas, any input, or you were in there?
Oh, I'm just sitting back, thinking back.
Isn't it viable now with the increase in ambulance, we may want to talk to a private service as a backup?
They're not, the only problem I think we have with private ambulance services, and it's happening in the town of Kittery, is they're not always there. They guarantee they're gonna be there, and they're not always there. That's the problem.
I know Somersworth is using them, Rochester uses the hospital itself, but they're backing it up with the privates.
and I
But are
guess-
they always there?
We're not always there. It's a mutual aid system then.
and I guess the question is, aren't you then having another group competing for the same dwindling resource of trained EMTs?
Usually they don't pay as well. They like to go to the fire service in the end because they have much better benefits. Once they get over jingle jeans, they
You
look for benefits.
hire an EMT, that's not the same benefits well, it is the same benefits if we're gonna hire them. It is, on a private side, it's not the same benefits.
Okay, and so these are people who have either no aspiration to be a firefighter or they failed as a firefighter.
There you go.
They usually don't want them. It takes a different breed to go running a burning building where everybody's running out.
No one says we're very smart.
Okay, well then, part of this is public education to understand that right now, we don't, nor will we, provide a full 24/7 staffed awake coverage. Okay, and that if we did, it would double our town budget. If we did, we couldn't find the people anyway for the better part of a year.
We probably went down from ambulance calls that we couldn't cover in the last 2 or 3 years, from like 35 down to about 4 this year. we haven't been able to cover, just because of how we're staffing with the standby pay, and people are, they're actually pretty good with that. I got people coming from Union Road and Stratham, that on both departments, but if they sign up for us, they know they can't go to the other department, and vice versa, of course. But we also I have one over there tonight who lives in Rochester. He's staying there tonight.
Okay. Now, the 2 part-time lieutenant idea to take over administration, you were doing that?
Full-time.
They're full-time?
No, it would be full-time. Oh, they're starting to do some of the work, but there's still gonna be a revolving door. I believe I'm losing one of the lieutenants. We just made a lieutenant. He's moving down south. But because there's more money in being a medic down there is up here for some reason, but I can't believe that, but I haven't figured it out.
Well, it might be a lower cost of living too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, South Carolina,
Yeah.
that's where he's talking about going, and I was really hoping that we were gonna be able to hang on to him and use him as a stepping stone in the next 2 or 3 years, and now we're gonna go back to the beginning and start again, and that's how this whole deal's coming. And another one of the firefighters over there is, he did an interview the 12 people for a full-time job in Berwick, Maine.
Okay. The other problem we have is the pay isn't really attractive compared to other departments. It's
The way we put this down, you mean?
the way you're doing it right now.
We're at $15 to $17.
A full-time firefighter makes a lot more than that.
Absolutely. Oh, no, that's the problem.
Okay?
You know,
You're also, when you have people call in, you're only paying for an hour, not 2.
Right.
Portsmouth has a problem getting them come in for 2.
Portsmouth has trouble coming in for 4. I mean, the mutual aid has gotten worse because their own people don't want to be called back, and that goes from living where they living. There's no regulation. Well, the regulation is further out in the city of Portsmouth than it is in Northampton.
Well, if they said you had to live in Portsmouth, they would have 0 firefighters.
Right, absolutely. A lot of those guys live up the White Mountains.
Yeah.
And because they're not gonna come back for a call.
Chester, what are your thoughts? I know you got something.
Well, I'd like to, I don't know if there's enough calls right now to put 2 full-time lieutenants. I don't.
It's not only the calls, it's also the inspections and, which we have one guy doing inspections now, but he just got hired full-time in Epping, but he's still doing part-time with us. So, until that gets caught up with, and you know what's gonna happen there. Once that gets caught in, he might not be able to do the part-time with us because of the word union comes into play, and then there's a lot of inspections in the town of Greenland. There's quite a few commercial buildings, quite a few daycares, and in school. We're doing more in the school at this point.
Please explain what the professional firefighters of New Hampshire say when you are a union firefighter about working for other.
You can't go to another fire department in the area. You cannot be hired by another fire
By
department.
another non-union fire department.
Right. Yep, you can't come, if I got hired in the city of Portsmouth and I said, hey, I'm the fire chief in Greenland, and, well, they already did this, so I shouldn't use that one. I'm a fire chief.
Yeah, they already used
They would say no,
Yeah.
and they would come down on them hard. The union would, because they pay the union dues and they don't feel the union people should be doing volunteer work or paid call work. There's some people out of Maine that do some of this, full-timers, they'll live somewhere else and they get away with it. But in this area, no, you can't get Portsmouth, Dover, Hampton, Northampton, none of those guys are able to work for a paid call or a volunteer department.
Even the Rye medic, who's full-time in union over there, he went through hell and hot water just to be on the CERT team as the medic. Because they're like, no, whatever town the injury happens in can just handle it, And it was just a union thing.
Yeah.
So.
And that's just the way things have been coming down, but plus, I think we're down on people want to be in the fire service almost as bad as the police service.
Not quite.
Yeah.
So as long as we have Somersworth and Rochester loaded cops.
Okay.
That wasn't recorded, was it?
Yeah. Okay.
So I plugged in just so we'd have some numbers for tonight with Chief Presti's proposal of the 2 full-time lieutenants, and there would just be 8 months. His budget proposal would increase from $389,000 overall to $441,000. And that was a $73,000 increase with 2 full-time people in his budget. That doesn't affect the personnel budget where the retirement is.
So actually that number is low.
That this is only the fire department's budget part of it, not the overall. In the spreadsheets that I did for you, it has the benefits and the
Yeah.
retirement.
And therefore we could expect the benefit part of it to be probably another, what, 15 or 18,000?
It's on the
That's on this sheet.
Yeah, the retirement is 30%, it's 29.96%.
No, for firefighters, it's
Yeah.
31 point something percent.
Oh, it's up to 30,
Yeah. Full-time fire is
Because they're old
2
and grumpy.
percentages higher than us. We're at 29.96.
So up by another 20 grand. So
Plus medical benefits.
Benefits is 22,000 for 8 months,
Yeah.
almost $23,000 for 8 months. Retirement, you say it's higher, so we're probably
Yeah,
at 16,
31
about
something.
16,000.
So the real bill is close to 200 grand.
Was one, for an 8,
We can get right down to it, yeah.
yeah, you're pretty close. It's 100,000 per person, let me get done.
Okay.
The other situation we got is every person we hire, and if we don't have fire gear for somebody, we gotta go out and buy it. And right now, we're spending $4,500 to outfit somebody in fire gear. So every person we're hiring and they go out the door, and we got this, we try to reuse it and we clean it, but if it doesn't fit somebody, we're hired. Everybody's not the same size. So. we do the
One
best
thought
we
I
can.
had on that was, if they go out the door, whatever fire department they go to, it's gonna cost them the same amount of money, why not?
That's how
offer
many
them
years
the
is left.
suit at 50% off or something, you know?
Fire gear is 10-year gear.
Yeah.
After 10 years, NFPA wants you to throw it away and buy brand new gear. We keep on revolving it, buying 3 or 4 sets a year, but we've been getting more people in than we have been, than we have enough gear for. So the more people we got, the more money we gotta spend to get gear for these people. And hopefully, and again, if it does come down to we end up hiring 2 full-time people, hopefully this is attractive enough to keep them wanting to stay in a small department. And that's another big issue, but I think looking at the figures, and Karen and I sat down and plugged these in, or she plugged them in more than I did. I think we're pretty right on the even keel of everybody else in the area of hanging on to these people.
Mhm.
The 200,000, that's only for 8 months.
No, that's 1 year.
That would be
That's a whole
That's a
year.
full year.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 88,000 each for the 8-month period.
Okay. And a bright spot you have is that with the exception of the rescue pickup truck, all the other equipment's in good shape.
Right, the pickup truck's the oldest thing we got. We just have to put some more money into that mechanically, but everything's in pretty good shape. As far, we could probably get 3 or 4 more years out of the pickup truck.
Right, no old junker fire trucks.
No junk for fire trucks at this point. We're pretty good. The ambulance, so of course, we use the revolving fund to buy stuff like that. The only thing I gotta look at, and I think we discussed this, is air packs, and I was hopefully gonna put something in this year of replacing these air packs. We got these on a grant, and we didn't get sold a bill of goods, but the grant money bought us a bill of goods. The packs we're having trouble with keeping up with the batteries in them. We're replacing batteries every 3 months in these things, and they're supposed to go a year. So we're buying batteries, we're keeping Eveready in business at this point. Because every time I turn around, we're replacing 9-volt batteries and C batteries. And C batteries, they take 4 in each pack. So times 25, and every 3 months they're coming around, you know, you get to a fire and the alarm's going off, or you're gonna get another pack, because the alarm's going off because the batteries went dead. Since then, the impact companies have changed how they're doing this, and they are almost going a year.
Probably going lithium.
Yeah, well, no, I think the packs themselves, these things are, these are first generations of electronics.
They staying hot all the time.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, and they're really pulling.
They ain't gonna last a year.
You know, so the new packs of, you know, they've changed a lot on. It's not saying we won't get anything for these old packs. Our bottles are still good. But the packs are, I think the quote that I got in, I apologize, I didn't bring it, was like $140,000 to replace the packs. That's without bottles. Then we get one more 5-year stint on these, and we gotta replace the bottles, and it goes every, there's 3 times they can be recertified. Just like diving tanks.
And then that's it.
They are fiberglass.
Yeah, once they lose their certification, they gotta go.
And don't get me wrong, we do have a great group over there, but the revolving door is a problem, and I'm not gonna sit down and say, hey, beg them to stay. No, I can't beg them to stay when they can go make triple the money. Not gonna make anybody even think about that.
So there are 2 issues, I think, that are facing the budget committee in the town. One is the personnel and the 2 lieutenants, and the other is the fire station itself. Do we put in a warrant article to start the wheels rolling on a new fire station? We need to know if that's something that the board would be behind. In addition to that, I think if Ralph is going to stay on, in my personal opinion, he does an awful lot of work behind the scenes, and I think his stipend should be increased. So because he's doing more work now. So I think there are 3 issues that we need to look at, and we need to bring before the budget committee.
Okay.
I think we got one more issue, if you want to bring it up, and I think Chip brought it up, is the building we're in now, that roof is, I think you've all seen the pictures of the roof and the piping. Even, we have to put some money into that building, even if we make it into maintenance.
I don't
You
think
agree
so,
with that?
because I talked to Paul. I think there's a way we can get that rider mower of his up there.
We can get the roof, I'm not sure. But,
Yeah, we gotta do something with that building if we're gonna keep it for something. It may stay a fire station for a year or 2 and may not, so.
right, it's, I don't know if you guys seen this picture of the roof, and,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
this roof goes back, what, 15 or 20 years? Doug Brackett had this roof done when he was chief. That's how far back it goes.
Probably 20 years that was done, they're supposed to be treated every 5, so guess what ain't been done?
I think they hired the same engineer that put the electrical heat on the.
Right.
Yep, okay.
Did we determine whether or not that's structurally safe, or are we getting that done?
We are getting that done. I guess the engineer called Charlotte, actually yesterday, no, today. Today's Monday, right?
Couldn't have been yesterday. If it was,
Today,
so-
and
Should have
it's gonna be a
been.
while for he gets to take a peek at it, but, that's the one thing we wanna know what we
Yeah,
can
that's
do
important.
before we put in positive steps.
Yeah.
in writing. We got time. That's gonna be a warrant article anyway. It's gonna be that much money.
So that's, I just wanted to bring that up so everybody knew that we do have this other building, that even if we stop putting money into the fire station, we're gonna put something into this one in the next year. Does everybody agree? It's gonna be done within the next year?
We can always get you a shelter tent.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, at least for me to deal with bonds issues, I'll deal with it this way. First of all, do we need to preserve the building we have? Absolutely. So we need to leave enough money aside from I'd like to take it out of unreserved fund balance if possible, because I'm thinking it's a $25,000 to $50,000 problem.
You could be talking as much as $150,000 problem.
My roof,
Well then,
I replaced the
okay.
roof at $50,000 recently on my particular shop.
Well, I'm thinking 50 out of unreserved, maybe 100 from other places. I just don't want to have to do a bond, okay?
Right.
Right.
No, I agree with you. I wouldn't want to have to do a bond on that either, but it depends on what the engineer says. If we can leave the roof the way it is, it's a lot cheaper just to put another coat on and put another bladder on top of it.
And I'll
And
leave
that's
for-
gonna be a lot less money.
But I agree, we have to tell the budget committee, we have to appropriate something this year to get that job done. So far as the transition, Ralph's additional stipend, no problem, because it's going to be a hard transitional year to get the right people, to get the administration shifted over, all of those things. That's gonna be tough, so some amount towards that. The building, I don't mind looking towards a study, okay, but we don't have a report back from MRI. We don't know what to build for who. We don't know if we've got the right number of bays, we don't know anything yet. So I'm way away from designing the building, but I don't mind putting something aside for design money.
Right.
We were probably a month too late hiring MRI,
Yeah,
and hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah.
But I agree with that too, because that brings public awareness to the issue at hand. So I think that's a good idea too.
yeah. Now, we're looking at something on the order of $175,000 to $200,000 to get 2 lieutenants on. I realize their salaries for 8 months, but we're talking equipment, we're talking retirement, benefits, all that other stuff. So we're not gonna get out of here for much under $200,000. Right.
On the money she put on there,
Well, I realize the salaries and retirement, yeah, but,
If you go all
the
the
fire gear, I'm gonna have, the money's already in the budget.
okay,
The money's in the budget to buy 4 sets of gear a year.
okay, so we're down what, maybe 175 then?
I don't know.
You look puzzled, Karen. Why?
Well, I'm just a little bit, the
Did you look-
200,000, we're at
I have it,
88,000
I'm getting in front of me, so I.
for 8 months.
Yeah.
Includes the retirement, the benefits, the overtime.
Plenty of
Close to $200,000.
So that's
Right.
coming out of the part-time wages, and this is for the 8
But
months,
then you're
128,000.
50,000 for the
We're
budget.
taking, it's, the increase
But
to
we
the
could
fire
be a little higher
department
than that
budget is
because of the,
$74,000.
Retirement,
Right, okay.
what Tara just said.
Then the increase to the fire department budget is 74,000. The increase to the fire department, the retirement for fire department is 30,465. So that's at 130 plus 45 for the rest of the benefits, 175.
Okay. And then-
Actually, there it is, I figured that out too. Total 2018 impact, 178,397.
And then he's.
Minus the 50, right?
Right, then less the 50,100
Part-timers.
part-time wages, overall cost 128,297 in 2018.
And then the next year at 220, I was pretty
Right,
close, okay.
219 for a full year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A full year is 220, according to this.
Yep, it is.
right.
Okay. All right, so I think it's important to get to the budget committee and show
Right,
them
this
all
whole puppy.
of it.
I
Okay,
do too, yeah.
now, the other part of showing it to the budget committee is, let's assume that, guys, you think this is a bad idea. Okay? What that means is that your level of coverage is going to be degrading even further
I'm
this year.
gonna keep on trying to hire the part-timers the best we can, because I don't like putting out ads to, put a big ad out, but we haven't done a lot of advertising, trying to get the part-timers to come down from the Concords, the Laconias, and, people coming in here on a weekend and wanna take a shift from Laconia, from the fire academy,
You might do better to do it from the west.
is,
Okay, but the reality is your level of service is going to continue to suffer.
as long as we, unless the firefighters coming into the field boost.
Yeah, and on any given day, a shift may go completely uncovered. On any given day,
We haven't done that yet, we've been
But I mean,
pretty
we could.
lucky.
okay. But I mean, that's what the budget committee needs to know and needs to hear.
Right,
That's the level of service and the risk that you're taking. And what that does is it increases the risk to the police department because they are full-time first responders. They're definitely going to be there. And they're waiting for mutual aid from other places. If you can't cover a shift or you can't cover a call, it comes mutual aid from somewhere else. Okay? What do the Seacoast chiefs say?
with the Seacoast Chiefs, again, we're very lucky to have that organization, because we got so many grants out of that, we got the, plus we got command post out of there, we got all our air trailers, so we're not doing air trailers at this point. We're doing a lot, we got lighting towers from them, we got all grants for this. The Seacoast Chief is the mutual aid district, is doing very well, because if we, it's happened in Epping, maybe 2 weeks ago, they had a structure fire, they had 3 people come on and the mutual aid poured in. Sometimes you gotta go to a
All the
different line.
departments are having just.
But they're all having, we're all in the same difficulty.
Yes.
But thank God we have the mutual aid district, and we're so strong that another chief will come into the town and give them a hand running the fire if they have to.
Just so you know too, at the state legislature level, they've appointed a study commission to deal not only with our drinking water, but also with our long-term needs for water, including fire service. Okay, and that's scheduled to meet for its first meeting on Wednesday. It was supposed to meet a month ago, but they couldn't get a quorum. It may not meet on Wednesday because they can't get a quorum.
Yeah.
Okay, which means that no one is even getting appointed to talk about this stuff. So we'll see on Wednesday whether they even have a quorum to start talking.
You get to see more in Concord than the rest of us do.
Well, that's right. Yeah, it's a different perspective. But I mean, in other parts of the state, they're not having the same volunteers. If you go north, not a problem. Because they don't have any full-time departments up there. Everything's volunteer. It's like it was here years ago.
Newmarket was lucky to get what we got, and they went, I believe, 2 extra alarms the other night on the condo fire, and it hit 7 condos. They had to go 2 extra alarms just to get the people in. There was fire trucks sitting in the road, not being used. We were using the manpower, it was big rotation. And the chief from the department happened to be out of town, and the Durham deputy stepped up along with the deputy from Newmarket, and they worked together. We all worked together.
Yeah.
We all took a role and.
Okay. All right. So our budget here would take a hit of $130,000 at least. What impact is that going to have?
I can't give what an impact is going to be yet until we get down to the bottom, because there's other places in the budget that are up and down.
Okay.
So it's too hard for me to say the tax rate is already looking at like 6 cents up. It's too soon.
Fine. Premature question. No problem. All right.
We got good news on one of our other big expenses is health insurance, and we got great news on that they're anticipating a 5 to 6% decrease in rates. So, I mean, that's fabulous.
I'd be scared.
Okay. If I'm sitting on the budget committee, what's the bottom line you're going to tell me
The bottom line for
of what you recommend?
we got to either keep on going, but I don't want to keep on going the way we are. We need to get some people in here and try to keep the town going. That's why we're going towards the full
We're
time.
going to build this story here, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We're not going to have any waffling. I can't do what I'm doing now.
Right.
Right,
The-
exactly.
This is about the same amount of the increase as last year. And that's what we've seen for the past
Because of
3
the-
years.
Because we went for the $7 an hour.
We're increasing on a gradual
Standby.
basis about $75,000 per year.
But I believe I was asked 5 years ago if this was a stepping stone, and I said, absolutely
it
said
was.
yes.
Yep.
And this
We can role play before the budget
Oh, yeah,
committee.
we can.
Okay. Also, I'm paying my part-timers less than the support staff in the town office are getting.
Oh, yeah.
Bullet points.
And they're, and a lot of these people, and I got 2 people going to medic school with the government's paying for right now. But as soon as they get their medic, they're gonna be gone, unless we have something off.
Because there is such demand for full-time employees.
And
As soon
medics,
as they qualify, they will be gone.
medics can write their own ticket where they're gonna be and how they're gonna be.
Okay? And also what's happening is, even though we think that we're paying a relatively low wage, we're paying the training costs of every full-time department that takes your folks.
Yeah, we're training three nights a month, plus we send them off for training. We're doing a lot of training as far as keeping these people going, because we have to keep them going.
But you're not training for Greenland, you're training for every other full-time
That's
department.
right.
Right.
And we've been doing that for a long time. Chip knows that. How many people are retiring now that come from Greenland?
About 7.
Yeah, that's already retiring, and they've had enough of firefighting. they could care less, they go into another burning building or,
And you're gonna get the same question, repetitious question that comes up every year, which is why don't we hook up with Stratum, or why don't we hook up with,
which we, I think we did our homework on that.
you do the homework
We
on that.
went to Newington, we went to Stratham, we sat down and had meetings with them both. I think I spoke my piece on Stratham, if they would, we could slow things down a little bit, if we could get them to do the same thing we were doing. And if we had a motor vehicle accident, we go with the ambulance and they come with an engine behind it, and vice versa, but it's gonna increase the call volume on both towns.
Well, the other answer to that is Stratham is primarily funded by Stratham Fair. Okay, Newington is primarily funded by their industrial base. They have already paid for everything that you're talking about.
That's right.
And they are not interested in coming here sharing.
Newington was very uninterested, as we found out. Wow.
Right.
They really didn't care less what was happening in the town of Greenland.
We've been changing in the direction of trying to reduce our response time, and we finally have it,
Right,
having people here.
which I got the wrong number
So-
at this point.
But my thing is that if we were sharing with Stratham and Newington, it would just increase our response time, because we might be responding.
Right.
My guy
or
was here
vice
the other
versa.
night, he ended up out front doing CPR on the guy.
Yeah,
And
And
Ryan
the
Northampton
next guy to
are
come
not
in.
options either.
right.
Okay, so we have we have the three major issues at hand. The additional personnel, the fire station itself, and your stipend. I think you guys,
It's currently at 20,000.
mhm. So,
Okay.
how much
We need
money do
some
you want, Ralph?
decisions here. Otherwise, we're not getting.
Okay. Well, so far as the stipend goes, how many hours would you project to be spending trying to get these two lieutenants up to speed to take over for you?
A week?
Yeah.
35. Some weeks 40. Probably last week I got we helped out in Southbrook because the chief died, and I probably got 50 or 60 hours in last week going to Newmarket and doing mutual aid calls, and
So an average over the entire year?
probably 35, 40 hours a week,
So if we said
including phone calls and all that.
if we said 35 hours a week and we paid you $20 an hour, you'd get $70,000 a year. We might as well hire you full time, but we can't afford you.
That's right. And again, if it were, like I told somebody before, if we weren't going forward, I wouldn't still be doing this, because I can't say I'm doing it for the money. It's nice to have, but
Best resource in town as far as
Yeah.
cost per square inch.
yeah. But lucky that I own my own business and I get out of my own business to come out and do the calls during the day, and I listen when we have a call, and I can you can tell when Rockingham dispatcher how serious it is.
Oh, yeah. The
'Cause
tone of voice immediately.
You could hear the voice immediately, and you're saying, "Oh, I better
I
go
gotta
to this."
I'm good now.
And she does the same thing in her office. We decide. The other day we had a call, and I called the station. She was there, but
Yep,
it
it's
was
always
more
that one.
serious than we ever thought it was. Neither one of us. I ended up out there.
Yep.
So, it's just lucky I do own my own business. I'm not looking for a pat on the back, but Chip and I ran, how many ambulance calls did we run, Chip?
Too many.
How many school buses we climbed in that we found some people in from an exhaust leak up the TA, Because then I called it in as a school bus and the hospital went nuts. Remember that?
But it's true, I mean, Ralph is available just about
All the
anytime.
time, I know.
Well,
If I
there's,
need- if I
there's
need to
times
meet-
that I'm not around, and
There's not a lot though. If we
But-
need to meet and we need to go do a fireworks permit, he's there. If I need,
If I call him and I need to talk to
Training.
him, he's there. Yeah, I know that, I know.
her and I drove this town many times,
yes.
many days trying to figure things out. We found houses we never knew there was houses in.
We're not supposed to admit that part.
Well, we did.
Well, I don't know, and I gotta talk off the top of my head, but if there was another $15,000 in stipend, does that?
Plus everything helps.
Huh?
This is something you guys discuss, what you feel it's worth a lot more money than that, you know.
I know it is, I could be getting.
If I could get somebody under me to help me out and, you know, take care of the day stuff and take care of the permits and take care of the school, yeah, that would work. Of course it would work.
Okay.
Would I stay a few more years? Yes. Am I gonna stay till I'm 70? No.
Hey.
If any of us are still, you know.
Never say never.
Right,
Yeah.
to me, the rationale is, that is about 1/3 the cost of a beginning chief,
That's right,
So I didn't hear what the number was.
35.
Okay.
35.
Raise of 35. No.
Okay, and so what that would mean is that if we projected our fire department budget to increase by 145,000 over our first presentation, that covers everything we have here, 15,000 for Ralph, and a couple thousand more for miscellaneous sludge trouble.
That projects that increases the overall fire department budget from last year by $88,494. And that gives us 2 full-time people for the remainder of the year and the chief stipend.
And frankly, considering what we're really facing, that's an awful bargain.
I think it is too, I really do.
It keeps the growth on a level amount.
Well, the other thing we have to think of is, first of all, our insurance rating. Because if we go down too far, then that's going to hit people in the pocketbook anyway.
That's right.
If we don't have a fire department, our insurance rating is going.
I've checked the insurance industry.
I get more phone calls.
Homeowners insurance
Yeah.
rates are gonna go up.
Right.
What do we have and what do we have for water at some of these different places and.
Would it possibly go down from going from part-time to some full-time?
I don't think
I
that.
don't think so. I think we're at the staffing numbers, we were okay for ISO. But what we're down on is the water pressure.
Yeah.
The hydrants.
Water's the thing that kills them every time.
Okay.
Something else we tried years ago was we tried to do a SAFER grant. I think you remember this. The SAFER grant, and then we put it in and put the paperwork in. We got a rejection letter. We don't have any full-time people, so we're not going to give you a SAFER grant. And the SAFER grant was, the first year was paying 50%. Am I pretty close on that?
Probably, yeah, that's what we have.
They paid 50% of it. This was a 5-year SAFER grant, and it stepped down as it went. Any money's, better than nothing to get on the road with it, and we had them people, the grant people into the Seacoast Chiefs last month, and he said there's gonna be money there. There's gonna be some money there. But again, it's the full, they're going to add to the department.
Okay.
Okay, I would do that, and I would also project this as to affect the tax rate and not use any of our unreserved fund balance. If I wanted to do anything on unreserved fund balance for the fire department, it would be for maintaining the building and doing design of a potential new building.
Yeah.
As capital
Chip, what do
expense.
your thoughts?
Things are changing fast these years.
Yeah, they changed it fast through the evening.
I think as far as the budget's concerned, these are great decisions to make all these individual decisions, then get the whole budget done. And then on final review, you may see what that grand total number is and say, eek. Now let's see where we can go back, but we don't have any, unless we make decisions as you go along.
Right, I agree.
You don't know what the bottom line's gonna end up at.
Jim?
Well, it's certainly something that we, as much as I would love to have it like it was 40 or 50 years ago, it's not gonna happen, so we better be realistic about this. So I would have to go along with it.
Chester?
One question on the 2 lieutenants. You said you'd continue hiring part-timers.
The part-timers would be the second person in the station.
But you're deducting 50,000 for less part-time wages. Is that realistic?
Yes, it's very realistic,
If you keep hiring them?
because lieutenants are gonna take up the hours of the part-timers we had before. but we always had two part-timers.
You'd have more, you'd have
Well,
more bigger pool.
Right,
Yeah, I'm gonna hire everybody that'll take the job, because, like you said, revolving door, you gotta.
right, the
you gotta
revolving,
keep- You gotta keep it moving, so.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with help or anything like that, just the number.
no, it's
That's my only concern.
because we're still gonna have two people on,
Right, and I understand.
and we're gonna have, and that's where the decrease come of the people of,
Right, you just have more
Right.
people
mhm.
to come in.
Yep, so we're still gonna have one person as part-time, plus we're gonna have the standby
Right.
at night, which I'm pretty shocked the way that has come up a lot. People are signing up for that, because we do a schedule every month, and they're really, we have less and less people. Most of the time, we have two people on. We might have 4 or 5% of the month not covered, and we usually get 1 or 2 stragglers. And
You?
I went to Elliott the other night in a tank truck and drove tank truck all night the other night. So, you know, that's because the second person wasn't on, and I went out myself. And again, I don't have any problem with that, except for they're making more money than I ever thought of making. The guys.
All right. Okay, Paul, any?
No, I think we've covered it, and let's put it together in this version and see where we end up.
Okay, so Chip, you want to surmise basically what's going before the budget committee?
What's going to the budget committee is we're looking for 2 full-time people that will be officers to take some of the pressure off Ralph during the day.
Mhm.
We're going to be eliminating those part-time jobs that were covering it before. Gives some stability to the command structure of the fire department. It will increase the budget. It's bound to do that, and it's the next step that the process is going. The other option is to have no fire department, have the insurance rates go through the roof.
Okay. And as far as the stipend go, and as far as the building goes?
The building, I have to wait and see what the report says, but we are going to have to do something eventually.
Okay.
It isn't going to be cheap, but it's got to be right.
Okay. What can we do in the meantime to get a starter figure for design of a new building? In other words, start design services.
I would think we would have a warrant article for the design and site work. Get an estimate for like a design build project
Okay. And at that
based on
point,
like the drawing that we have from Ritchie Construction.
yeah, so we'll start based upon the MRI report, whether we like it or don't like it, and then go forward at least with the preliminary design phase. And at that point, would you take that one out of unreserved fund balance? Or too soon to tell?
Too soon to tell, because if we end up, if those are the only, big ticket items on, yeah.
Okay,
But,
so we'll just put that as possible.
Yeah.
right.
Okay,
All
fine.
right.
We don't know a dollar figure yet, but we'll get an estimate of what it ought to be.
Right, because we realistically have 750,000 that can be used from undesignated fund balance.
And I'm thinking a preliminary design at that phase is about 30,000, given what we have so far. We know a lot about these properties already.
Right, but I do think it's important that it's a warrant article and not in the budget,
Fine.
so
Right.
that the public sees it. So, we know that there's gonna be a library on there. It's a public way of letting them know, and there's a fire station coming,
Yes,
because they don't necessarily dig into the budget itself.
fair enough.
The only other warrant article I can see coming is that the ed packs, and that comes out of that ambulance revolving fund.
That's for this year?
I'd like to put it in for this year, yes.
Are you going to do a CIP on your truck?
On the pickup truck?
Yeah.
Too small.
Yeah,
We're talking 60,000.
no, I don't think it's gonna be that much, Chip, I think.
I bet you it turns out to be
What are
that.
you buying, what are you paying for your
I,
SUVs now?
28,000,
Yeah,
then I equip them after that.
we're gonna be probably maybe $30,000.
You going to state bid on that then?
It'd be state bid, yeah, it'd be the state,
Okay.
we use the same state bid.
Yep.
Yeah, because we always, worked out pretty well. And at this point, I use my own vehicle as a command vehicle,
Okay.
which I've
All
done
right.
for years.
And I think we have a direction to take on the fire department.
You all settlement?
No, I want you to stay right there till we
Company.
My mother-in-law's
Who the
not
hell do
doing
you
well.
think you are?
Oh, your mother-in-law, you can stay.
All right, you want to go through the, let me just really quickly do the, these highway grants. I want to get those out of the way. I want to do that before.
Thank you, Ro.
We've got 4 highway grants here. Tara, you want to?
Yes.
Go.
There are typical highway grants that we apply for every year. We got less money this year because a lot more PDs are putting in for them, but sustained traffic enforcement patrols, we stop for speed, traffic lights, distracted driving, cell phone, stuff we've been doing for years. We have a DWI grant, a 50/50 equipment grant for a new radar, which will go in the new cruiser next year, and then we'll be all updated with radars, and the last one is a distracted driving grant. So you go out there, that's all you focus on when you're out there is stopping cars for these different violations. And we've had them for years, and it helps with wherever we're getting complaints. Always over on Portsmouth Ave by Bob Cresco's house. Always 33 with the lights, the Dunkin' Donuts light and Ocean Road. And then we'll have, we do some good speed lately on Newington Road in Winnicott, so.
Okay.
That's how you get them, you complain.
Oh, yeah. I had a lady call me and say, listen, there's someone very important in town that gets a lot of attention in front of their house. And she was referring to Bob, and I said, all you have to do is ask.
Yeah.
So the speed trailer, and then we concentrate on the area for a while.
Okay. Any questions on the grants?
How much?
Anybody want to,
I highlighted the amounts on each one.
okay.
So the name is at the very top on the left, and then the amount is just halfway down. And then I highlighted where you need to sign, Vaughn.
Okay, the STEP grant, which is the enhanced enforcement, right?
Yep.
731288.
Let me have that one.
By the way, these are moved to approve.
Okay.
STEP grant 7318 or whatever it is. The second one is the Greenland radar grant, in the amount of $1,299.98. The third one is the DWI patrol grant in the amount of $3,768.45. And the final one is the Greenland distracted driving grant in the amount of $1,794.50. Move we approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
And unfortunately, you have to initial every page, Vaughn.
You gotta do a
He may
Summersworth-
have you initial it for him.
You gotta do what Summersworth did when they distracted.
What did they do?
They had a guy was sitting out there, one of the officers
Oh,
down
well,
there
work for
with
food
the
or
sign,
something?
got
That
cell
was
phone,
kind
cell
of
phone.
trapment.
No, it was, he's sitting up there with
Oh, yeah?
some
Yeah.
religious thing, and he was calling in on his radio,
Yeah.
on the cell phone.
I gotta
Well,
wait.
I know
All
they're,
these
if they're trying to
places,
take
all of
pictures
them.
of him.
There's only like 19 for each one. And then your wife has to JP them or notarize them or whatever, just like usual.
I remember one time standing in front of the house with a toy megaphone, and they slowed down.
See, there you go.
They thought it was
There you
good.
go. Yeah, it's funny, no matter how long you sit out there on Portsmouth Ave, it's like fishing in a barrel, just over and over
The
and over
last 2
again.
times I've stopped to go across
Yep,
to Jimmy's,
yep,
so
someone.
the right to, yeah.
Yeah, we tried to, or I tried to get a new sign, because they have those neon signs now that light up for no right turn, or whatever. I was told, the DOT had said, oh, we'll review it, I'll give it to the engineer and stuff. They came back and said, we won't give you a new sign because we don't think there should be no right turn on red. I said, thanks, have a good day.
You can write my name in, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Can I come by tomorrow and initial the rest of these?
You could, or,
Just authorize
you can give me
the further-
permission to initial them.
1,500 pages per thing. I'm 90, so,
It is a state grant, so,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I'll take care of it.
Thank you. All right, moving along with the budget.
We want to do police next while she's here.
Yep.
Is this the most recent one?
I haven't changed it yet.
But the numbers since the last time, no?
No, okay, no, I didn't make all your,
Yeah, I'll change it.
because I would have had to change all their books too.
So you want us to work off of what you gave us?
If you could,
Yeah.
just, I mean, the amounts are not that different from Karen's, to be honest with you. It's just, you know, I went up a little bit in on a piece of equipment or down a little bit as I got more information, but.
Okay. Any questions on? Anything that Tara has submitted? The one question I had for you is your new clerk that's coming in.
Admin.
Is she gonna be part of that 3% or 2%?
Oh, no.
Whatever it is?
No. As a matter of fact, if we're able to bring in someone full-time, I actually reduced her from what Carol's making now. Still trying to get someone with some experience, some dispatch or some police experience, but still less than what Carol was making.
Do you have
I
that?
think I put her at 20.50 an hour, or 20. Because, you know, if we're trying to go full-time, I put her in at 20.50 in these numbers. If she-
Hired someone,
I have not, because,
so is her a generic or a, what is that?
yeah, right, her, him, should we be saying it? That's a good point. Because I put it out on Indeed.com. Before I did that, it was on the website, it was in the paper, it was on my website, it got 6 resumes. From Indeed.com, I've gotten many more resumes, but 90% of them so far they're not qualified for the job. So, I don't think I'm gonna find somebody that's as qualified as I want them to be.
The ideal.
I could for part-time if it was 20 hours, and I could for full-time with benefits, but I can't do it in 20 hours. And, you know, no one wants to work 34 hours as a part-time employee. That's where I'm really hitting a wall.
Okay.
So that, at full-time, it would be 42,640.
For,
The secretary?
yeah,
That's it,
42,640. Yep, that's what's in that's what's in my packet. So that's an increase over last year, going from Carol making more but working less hours. It increases at $1,398, so $1,400. But again, it's the benefits that's the big hit. You know what I mean? In my budget, it's that $1,400 and then the 3% that I put in for the employees. Those are, the other things are pretty minuscule up and down.
At full-time, that person would be a group 1, so there'd be a group 1 retirement.
But she already pays into group 1 right now for Carol because it's,
Carol's a 35-hour position,
Okay,
so she's been on New Hampshire retirement, so it's not a significant increase.
so that's okay. But it
it's
would,
the,
and was she also under our health plan?
No, she was
no,
not.
that's the
She was on
increase.
life and short-term disability and long-term disability, but not health,
So the likelihood is health would be another 24,000?
if it's a family plan.
But I mean, for budgeting, we would assume that.
Right,
Correct.
that's where the crux of the
24,000?
24,000 for a family plan
Yes.
for a year.
Easy.
Welcome to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's $2,200 a month for a family.
Easy. Yep. And so that really is the decision, you know, is
Right.
with full-time with benefits, you're likely to get a better applicant pool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's gonna cost us 24 plus 14 is about $25,500.
Right. Right, and that's why I point out that yes, it's 1,400 in my budget, but that's not the cost of it. The cost really is in, unfortunately, Karen's part of the budget, but it's all related to that.
Yeah, bottom line, that decision is a $25,000 decision.
Yes, yes. And that's what's so difficult is that, Carol didn't want full-time, didn't need medical benefits. So we kind of catered the position to a person rather than to the position. So now we end up with we need, 35 hours of a person, but, other than, I don't know what we can get for that.
Okay, so the decision is, what do we present to the budget committee? Full-time or not full-time?
You're not gonna offend
Well,
me.
you've got-
Feel free to talk openly in front of me. I know,
This may be a stupid question, but what about 2 part-time? If you haven't finding people for 20 hours, what about 2 part-timers?
I may be forced into that if it's the 35 hours, if I'm stuck with that. The problem is obviously the job kind of, one thing kind of affects all the other things in her job because it goes from the files to making discovery to taking in the accident insurance money to the pay. So it all kind of funnels. I'm sure that I would make it work if I had to make it work. I just don't know that it would be the consistency that people want when they call the police department, you know what I mean? I mean, maybe it doesn't work that way right now, but that is the face of the police department. That's the voice you get when you call. That's supposed to be whether you're in crisis or whether you're calling about an accident report. That's supposed to be what represents the police department. That's what I want it to be. Carol is wonderful, by the way. Just want to say that.
You're on the record.
Yes, thank you.
But, let me just revisit, 2 part-timers versus 1 full-timer. What kind of money does that save the town?
That 20.
$30,000.
$30,000?
Well, it wouldn't be 30,000, it would be the
It'd be about
24,000.
24, wouldn't it?
And the retirement.
Oh, the retirement, right, because we wouldn't be paying the retirement that we are paying for Carol now.
I would like to try 2 part-time people, and then if somebody leaves, it wouldn't be a crisis. You could give them some extra hours till you get somebody else
Or
hired.
boost them up to full-time.
Well, I couldn't boost them full-time, but I can put it in the budget for sometime. I'd be willing to try it. I don't know, I'm worried about the consistency,
Yeah, I understand.
especially for court and for prosecution and things like that, but I'll
I'm just
try it
trying to weigh the
Yeah,
inconsistency
absolutely.
with the,
with the cost of the
budget
town,
costs,
absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna look at it a different way.
ahead.
Net to the taxpayer, special revenue, special detail revenue fund. Okay? Does this person administer the time?
Yeah,
Okay. So therefore, that person is materially important to that particular fund, which buys our cruisers, our equipment, and everything else. Is,
And we offset some of that salary through the special revenue fund.
yeah, and so I'm thinking, even if we put like a $1 increase on the administrative rate, we've come awfully close to paying this $30,000.
absolutely. The number of details that are worked in this town,
Yeah,
or in all towns by my officers, absolutely.
yeah, good point.
With a very small increase in that
Yeah.
rate. And in fact, that person is a material portion of administering that fund.
Mhm.
Absolutely true.
And our special detail rates are not excessive already compared to others.
No.
I'd rather have it a full-time person and pay for it that way.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. Those are good.
Yeah, I can go along with
I like that, huh? Yeah.
That is a good thought, because the
Pay
money,
for it, we're okay.
Yeah,
Because that revenue shows that it offsets.
you're right, and the money is there.
Right.
All right,
Everybody smile.
okay.
I'm smiling.
contractors. However, when they get their little letter that effective January 1st, the rate goes up $1.
Yeah, but $1, I mean, no
Right,
one's gonna
they don't
look
care.
at that.
I don't think it's excessive, and I think.
The surrounding towns are charging significantly more than we are.
Then when we look at it, we should look at that. I'm not trying to make it into a tax. I'm trying to recover our cost. And this is a
Right.
cost to administer the fund.
Yeah, good point.
And it's a big amount of time that she spends on that because of the number of details that the officers work.
Yeah, and it's crucial to your operation.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'd like to present it to the budget committee that way, as it's the necessary change that will be paid for.
And that seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right.
I agree. Terrific. So now are we gonna talk about the 3%?
Okay, 3%,
I know no one wants to talk about it, I get it.
I'm gonna support the 3%. I sat down with Karen and I went through, I read the Wall Street Journal and USA Today and checked the CPIs out and everything else, but I think you guys do an excellent job for this town. I think the town is financially in a good position, and I think it's largely in part to the employees of this town, and I'm gonna support the 3%.
I appreciate that. We're going through the lieutenant promotion process, and that's great, and I think sometimes movement is good, but I don't want to lose anybody else that we've had here for a long time. I don't want to be one of those training grounds, kind of like
You bring up a good point, because you lose somebody for a little bit of money. To train a new person is very expensive.
So we were talking 2.5%.
We did 2.5 for everyone else and 3 for police.
No, I threw that out because I wanted people to know what the CPI was. That's the only reason I threw that out, just to, let them know what's going on. But I'm going to probably go for the 3% all the way across. So that's where I'm coming from.
I tell you what I would like to
Was
see.
that a vote earlier at the 2.5 or
No.
no? Okay,
No, that was just discussion.
okay.
I would like to see
We're kicking tires.
that before our next one, that you give us a comparison of the two.
Okay.
That way we'll see.
The 2%, 2.5,
The
one
2.5,
has that, you have that total. And I can do it.
you don't have it?
I know, I gave it to you.
You lost it.
Mistake number one.
Karen, how do you don't give stuff?
It looks just like this sheet, hold on. I can plug these in and then give you the difference.
While you're looking for that, we had talked last time about other benefits,
Mhm.
and I had sent you the thing from 2014. I don't know if you looked much at it. I didn't get a lot of response. I probably got 8 different departments that got back to me that said that everything's unchanged as far as what their benefits are from 14. Can we extrapolate and say that probably very little has changed benefits-wise? I think that would be a safe thing to say from 2014 to now.
I guess the other thing we learned is that other departments are not using those benefits as either a recruitment or retention tools.
Right.
They just are what they are.
Right, that it basically, I think that some of them maybe hit heavy, no one else has this, but it's really offset by what other people have.
Okay.
So I find it to be, when I went through 2014 again and really looked, if someone was missing something, they had something else. So I find it to be comparable.
That way that it's not going to be a primary factor in an officer's decision.
Right.
Okay, then we learned that. That's
Yes.
important.
Well, I think it's important too. I mean, when we talked about it and I went over what we had, there could be something that was,
Yeah, I found mine
It
at
was
the same
pivotal.
time. So it's 26,227.50 is the impact for 2.5, and for 3 it is.
$26,000.
26,250, I
Yeah.
think is good.
30,007. I hate when there's just too many zeros. And 88 cents.
And is that
30,700?
is Is that just police or is that all?
That's the entire town.
That's $4,400 difference.
Like you say, Don, what the heck?
The budget committee something to cut. Gotta give the budget committee something to cut.
I think we should,
Well,
I think we should present to the budget committee at 3%.
For us.
Yes, because that's a $30,000 fiscal impact.
Building inspector as well, right across the board.
Yeah, when we get to the building inspector, I'll have other comments.
That's right.
other than the PD new secretary.
Right.
Because that person will be hired in at a number,
Yeah.
no
Right.
increase, yeah.
So that actually brings it down by $1,279. But I'll have all of these grand totals.
The point is, they're very close.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else in the police budget?
Yeah, was there any other questions? Because I know that we didn't go over everything last time, especially
Given that
for-
given that you now know what your grants are, I don't think you came up to 28,000.
No, and so I'll adjust that. Karen usually puts the percentage after she pulls that out because that's obviously offset by income.
Yes.
But I think she does both percentages, so I will reduce that by the exact number that we got.
So it's an adjustment, but
Oh, it's a huge adjustment,
like about half, right?
Yep.
Okay.
which I'm disappointed about, but,
Yeah, and I can add those up.
okay. Because I emailed you the emails.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think that's the only other thing, the fuel, they haven't gotten rid of that $2.67 fuel yet, so again, we don't know still where it's gonna end up. So,
Fuel's always a wag.
it really is, it really is, it's the tail wagging the dog. And every time I think that, we're safe and it's low for a while, then it spikes, so.
Any other questions?
Not right now, but usually we do.
I'm set with Tara.
Right now, we get it ready to come to the farms.
You all set?
Cheaper.
Chester, you all set?
Yes, thank you.
Oh,
Are you sure?
Tara?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, my Bay Ridge friends, I'm glad that everybody's happy.
See how, it was much more peaceful. It was much more peaceful.
Oh, your timing was wonderful on that.
We do appreciate it.
Hey, Tara, it's all the numbers game.
It is all numbers, quite literally.
Those numbers.
And
Well, what's-
just remember, which neighborhood was the best behaved of all?
You're right.
Absolutely.
That would be Holly Lane.
It will be, we're still coming for you.
Yeah, they haven't got back to you yet.
Still coming for you.
Yeah.
I've already had my number changed.
Once it may be again.
What's funny about the numbers is, Jeannie and I are talking about it and all this stuff, there's no other places in town that could keep their same numbers.
The
Because
rest of them are
it's gonna
pretty
be
screwed up.
so screwed up. Right.
Boy,
So you guys are the last.
And I'm gonna tell you something, I got in the cruiser with Wayne this weekend,
Oh, no.
and we went by you, we beeped, waved at you, but you were in your, I don't know what you were wearing.
Well, I think-
You had some hat on.
I think I was pressure washing, wasn't it?
Oh,
But we went down to Brackett Point and that area, holy
holy
mackerel.
mackerel.
You talk about scrambled eggs.
Yes,
Woo.
yes. Yeah, there's some parts of town that are just awful, but so I just wanted you guys to feel special that you're the only ones that get to keep your numbers from here on out.
Hey, after you've been to the Sea Rise presentation,
No, but there's
we're
no-
lucky to keep our front yard.
Yeah, right.
That's thanks to Chester. All right.
All
I
right,
think we're all
thank you
set.
very
Thank
much,
you.
I appreciate it.
Okay, police, fire department, what's next? Karen?
Do you want to go back to general government, or do you want to do building inspection, streets, public works?
Let's go to building inspector.
Okay.
Okay, Any questions on the building inspector right now, other than the wages?
No, I don't have any problem with his submissions there.
Right. Anybody else?
I believe he's done an excellent job.
Chip?
No, I didn't have any
Chester?
No, I think he's done a great job.
Okay. All right, let's get to wages.
I've come forward a little bit more vocally recently because I think there's really two parts to this job. The first part is that you are the code compliance person, the inspector, the person who issues permits. But then, when people don't do what you ask them to do, there's also an enforcement aspect of things. And that's always been the two parts of this position. For years and years and years, whether it was Bob Cushman, or it was Myrick, or it is Jim. And what I feel over the last year is that the enforcement side of the job has not gotten anywhere near the attention that he's given to the other sides of the job. I'll give him great credit for knowing his codes, for issuing permits when people come in voluntarily, for working on files and working on the computer and GIS and things like that. That side of the ledger, no problem. But when it comes to enforcement, not happening. And that became particularly apparent to us on the planning board when we were trying to do a site review on a building that's been actually subdivided now for well over a year. And having him ride by day after day, and nothing happening. The explanation that he gave to us in a letter, which is available for anyone who wants to see it, was essentially, yeah, I know, but I talked to him and he won't do it again. Sorry, that's not enforcement. Okay, Mr. Fillmore needs to be brought in, and if he wishes to have these multiple uses on the property, he can go through site review like everybody else. The same way that they do down at Autumn Pond Park, the same thing that we ask every other commercial building to do when the use changes. Okay, it's not that onerous. What's more, Mr. Fillmore is a very expert property owner. Over the course of his working life, he built hundreds of homes in communities from Nashua all the way over here. He is an expert at this, and he understands perfectly well what normal municipal requirements are. Okay, and the idea that I promise I won't do it again, that does not cut it. Okay, so to me, there's some work to be done in this position. I don't know what it will do, and I'd be happy to talk to him about getting the enforcement on the plate and getting it done. We also know that we have issues where Ms. Beck has been doing things that we haven't been particularly pleased, and nothing has occurred. And those are just the two easy ones that come to mind. I imagine there's others. I don't know. But I'd like us to go back and think back to March. Have we received even one report of a situation that requires additional enforcement? And Karen, has one case been referred to Peter Laughlin for further work? Or to any other town attorney?
Questions have been referred to Peter Laughlin. I don't know the cases. He has one, Peter's working on one issue for him right now.
Okay, but to think in our town with what's been going on, one? Really? I don't think so. That certainly is not historically what's been going on. We don't have a lot, and again, I don't want to turn it into Portsmouth. That's not the idea. But to think there's only one questionable item for enforcement, I just don't get it. It's not what our history has been. We have more on the order of 5 to 10 per year.
Okay.
So to me, I would not be approving of his request for a large salary increase. I would be willing to go along with the percentage along with everyone else, and I think we need to work towards building up the enforcement side of his position. Okay. If that could occur, and we were into a real person who was not only the code official, but also the enforcement officer, that's worth more. But just code alone, no.
Okay.
And if he was right here, I would say exactly the same thing.
I know you would, yeah. Okay.
And on at Thursday night at the planning board, I probably will.
Chester, your thoughts?
I agree with everything you said. In his defense, I had a resident come to me. There was, I don't know if it was a shack or a skateboard ramp or some unsightly thing was built. the resident came to me and said, you know, what should I do? I said, let me talk to the building inspector, I'll find out. And there was a letter sent, it was taken care of within the week. So that's my only experience with him, with any enforcement, and it was a good one. But I do agree on Bramble Valley Drive, on 33, everything he brought up, I do agree, especially Bramble Valley Drive. I mean,
Yeah.
what are we doing here?
That to me was just basic.
Yes, absolutely. So I do agree. I agree with the 3%.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
agree if you're doing more enforcement, 10% could be in the future. But you gotta do the whole job to get fair market value. That's my,
Well, this is the first I've heard of problems with the enforcement aspect as far as not letting it happen. I know he's very thorough, and I think he does an above average job at it, but as building inspector and his codes, and he is below the average for the area for his salary. So I guess I would like to see him get a little bit more than 3%, which is what everybody else is getting thrown at him.
And how much more?
I honestly don't know. I don't have a dollar figure for you.
Okay. All right. Chip?
Well, I just looked at my figures, and it's, right now, if we keep running the same way we're running, it's gonna be almost 300 permits less than 2016 for 2017. So the work hasn't been there to justify a major increase in pay on the inspection portion too. My understanding is you guys, when you hired him, this was the amount he negotiated. So he knew he was getting paid when he came over here. He left a state that that's both what he and his wife did make, so he actually got a major increase with that. I know I'll hear about it if it starts getting different pay increases like it happened before, so I think leaving it to 3% will work, and then he's just gotta pick up on the other side, and then we can pick up on our end.
Okay. I wasn't one of the board members that, I was a board member when we hired him. We had two other board members that brought him on. First, let me start by saying, I think Jim does a fairly decent job, and I agree with you. The enforcement needs improving. So if we were to do personnel evaluations again, which I know nobody wants to get into, that would be something that we would definitely bring up. He does know what he was hired at, and that I just don't see any justification for going above the 3% that everybody else is doing. You know, I just don't think it would be fair to bring somebody in and just give them arbitrarily a higher pay increase. So I would stay with the 3% also. Okay?
We just raised the treasurer's a lot more than 3%.
They were making minimum wage though.
Well, believe me, I know.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Well, we can get back to the treasurer if you'd like to lower that. We can talk about that.
no, thank you.
Okay, and anybody have anything further on the building inspector?
Well, I do have one other thing. Let's at least throw in one bone. He's asked me to bring it up if he could stay with what his hours have been this last part of it, leaving on Friday afternoon.
If you could what?
Continue his hours that he's had where he leaves early on Friday afternoon.
How many hours does he put in? When
He
he leaves early?
puts in his 40 hours
Yeah,
for the
he's
week.
working
Okay.
40 hours.
Yeah. I don't have a
And then
problem with
leaving at
that.
2 o'clock instead of 4 o'clock on Fridays.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that as long as, you know,
I mean, let's face it, everybody else is cutting out early on Friday afternoon.
They are.
Well, the developers and the builders stopped coming in.
Yeah.
To Friday afternoon, they
The thing
wrapped up the week.
The thing I'd like to make sure he starts doing is if he's not gonna be in, he has coverage.
If somebody should come in.
Somebody needs an inspection, because I hate Greenland shouldn't be anti-business, they should be as cooperative as possible. So if somebody has to get an inspection, and usually, the contractor screwed up and forgot to schedule it.
Don't we have some type of reciprocity?
With Stratum.
Okay,
He covers for Stratum and Stratum's willing to cover for us.
so, yeah,
Yeah,
Just-
it's
just
just
gonna-
what happened with his last hospitalization. He ended up getting laid up a couple extra days that weren't planned.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of appointments scheduled, and he wasn't able to work, so people got pushed 2 days longer only because it was
yeah, I don't have a problem with him leaving early as long as, as Chip says, he's got coverage if it need be, because when you're in the contracting business, you have to meet deadlines, and you're right, that the town should be,
And sometimes things just go wrong.
okay? Anything else, Jim?
No, so do we need to vote on that, or is that just?
I don't think we need.
I don't think so. Again, I don't have a problem with a little flex time like that.
right. And when you finally get to the end of the budget is what you'll vote to pass this number on to the budget committee.
Yeah, okay, all right. Any further discussion? Okay. That takes care of the building inspector?
Yep, so that budget is actually a 4% decrease. It's a decrease of $2,601,
Okay.
because last year had the GIS program, and that's a one-time payment, and there's not even an annual maintenance fee, anything.
Okay. Let's go on to Public Works.
Who Tyler took the other one?
Chip, you have any comments on the Public Works?
I did. I think it's under the phone. Yeah, that's where Paul's part-time employee, we increased his pay.
That's under Culture and Recreation, this is
Okay,
part-time
but we won't
person.
talk about that yet.
We'll get
We'll
there.
get cultured later.
Public Works starts with streets and sanitation, vehicle maintenance and repairs, supplies, equipment. There were, that total highway, streets and sanitation is a decrease of $44,000. Because in the equipment last year, we had the two used pieces of equipment, which we don't have this year. This year, the only equipment is a backpack blower. And then under Public Works itself, the contract labor equipment roads was increased from the 390 to the 420. For snow removal, we're at 442 already right now, and if it snows in December, we're above that,
Which it will.
Yep, go ahead.
I was going to say, and it will snow.
right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
And
It was
so-
cut by the budget committee because they looked at the actual per audit for 2016, when that was the horrendous snow year, and said if that was the worst winter ever, we only spent $307,000, which of town funds ends up being the net, but we received like $70,000, $80,000 from FEMA to reimburse the snowplow account after the storm. So it artificially made that worst year look pretty good.
Okay. Have we signed a snow plowing contract yet?
Last year, and it was a 2-year contract.
We did, 2 years?
Mhm.
All right, any questions from anybody on? All right, the salary.
Property maintenance supervisor had requested a 5.5% increase. At the 3%, it would be $53,647 instead of $56.
Okay. Any comments, Paul?
No, I think our 3% proposal is fine.
3%.
3%, really.
Chip?
I'm good with it.
Okay. 3% it is? All right.
Street lighting is on that same department, and that shows, we can actually take that down. That had the $18,000 in it for the town share of the LED streetlight conversion.
Mhm.
We're able to pay that in this year's budget, out of the excess that we have in legal.
And we
Okay.
paid it tonight, or
Yeah.
we're about to pay it tonight.
Exactly. So that actually can be reduced back to the 17,000.
Okay.
And we can hope that, and I think that we will see the savings down to that even in the first year.
What page is that on, Karen?
It's the same one with
45.
with the property maintenance supervisor.
Page 45.
All right. Okay.
Okay. So therefore, last year's budget of essentially 775, the requested number of 918 in fact is too high.
Mhm.
Okay, and so the difference between 775 and 900, or 918, first we'll take 18 off for the lights. And the primary reason for being higher is snowplow.
Yeah.
And also,
Maintenance of roads is where he's requested the increase from the 175 that we normally did to 268, which includes, the big one is Portsmouth Ave at 143,000, Tuttle Lane at 75,000, and Ann's Lane at 9,400.
so these are using Underwood estimates.
Correct,
And these are the next on the list.
yes.
Okay. So, I'm sorry.
What happened to Great Bay Drive West and?
That money was already appropriated in 17, and it's going to be encumbered full.
Okay, so it's encumbered.
Yeah, we're not losing that. And we also have 78,000 sitting aside in a grant fund for extra roads from the state, the highway block grant.
Okay. Anything else under Public Works?
Which actually, wait a minute, as I think through it, that extra highway block grant money can't be used to reduce your tax rate. It can be used to do additional paving that hadn't been budgeted. So if we were to flat budget this 174 in maintenance of roads this year, it could be supplemented with that grant money
Mm-hmm.
and not impact the tax rate.
Correct.
Your revenue 26 is 70,000, right?
Yes, we're not allowed to even count it as a revenue.
Okay. But if the request were cut from 268 to just under 200,
Right,
okay, so that way we'd be showing an increase from 175 to 195 or 198.
Yep.
That would accomplish the same thing.
absolutely,
That would help a lot on the bottom line, wouldn't it?
yes. Yeah, because then that brings that increase only to 25,000. It brings the overall increase, total cleaning and maintenance is down 2608. Let me get to the bottom line of Public Works. Total Public Works would be down $15,000.
From 775 down? Wow.
So I might have some formulas that have to be moved over a column, so don't
No, I understand, but I mean,
count that yet.
the point is we're coming in much better than we thought.
Yeah.
Much better than we were.
And we'll let you have the time to think about this to the right.
I think that's an actually good move, and then I don't want to have that money sitting there for that purpose for years.
Right.
Like, we still have 25,000 sitting in an account, well, in our general fund, but labeled for recreation at Falls Way. We own a lot over there that's designated for recreation.
Can't
We
do
need to
anything.
buy a swing set and put it there. You know, be done, because it's just sitting.
But, all right, it's designated specifically for that purpose,
Only recreation
for that area.
for that lot.
And it was a condition of the approval of the whole subdivision.
Yep.
And that was deposited by the developer.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we ought to get that done.
Yep, absolutely. Get that off
We
the
tried to
books.
put it in the hands of some of the residents, come up with ideas. Nobody came up with any ideas.
Okay,
We thought, you know, we'll put a basketball court there. It was so popular down on Caswell, and they were, no, we don't want basketball. So a playground structure with some 5-bar
okay.
and a split rail fence,
Couple picnic tables, life is good.
done.
Yep, exactly.
Is that what you guys have just put in Van Etten Way?
Can we buy yours?
To me, that looks like the biggest waste of money.
Well, because they don't have children in there.
I know they don't.
Falls Way, you'd have kids climbing on it.
Why did the
To
planning
repurpose
board
money
ever
like that.
put that in as a requirement?
That would require a combination of the planning board and the developer,
Right.
and not worth it.
It's not worth it,
Plus,
you're
there's
right.
a lot of kids
I
there.
remember, yeah.
I know.
Put
All
it
right.
in a walking bike track.
Yeah, all right, let's do that and get that off the books.
Thank you.
All right, anything else under Public Works?
No.
All right, where are we going to go next?
Oh,
Sorry, we need to get over this cracking. Do you want to jump over to general government?
Okay,
And we can't complete general government only because it has the personnel stuff until I get the exact rates for the health insurance. But I was told that anticipate a 5 to 6% decrease.
okay.
So that's
Why don't
excellent.
you just kind of temporarily figure that in?
What I did is I went in today and just level funded
Okay,
rather than take a decrease.
all right,
Because the level funded would keep in for the police secretary, because I didn't know if that was going to be full-time, not full-time.
okay.
So I did level funded to make it hit better. But there's nothing major in general
So
government.
let me go with selecting salaries. I think it's a good time
I
for a
think it's a
joke.
great time.
3%?
3%?
33%.
33%. That's right, we gotta outdo some other people, you know? All right, any questions? I do think, as far as salaries go, we're still at the 3%.
Yeah, the numbers we see here, we're at the 1%.
Yes.
So
Right.
they will be higher than we see here, but not horrendously higher.
Right. So,
So by the time we're done, it looks as though instead of being down 1%, we'll be about level funded.
It'll still be down because the 1% is just myself, Charlotte, and Liz. The other positions were put in at 3.
Okay.
So it's not going to be going up on those.
Did you just say?
The town clerk's office had already put in at 3%.
Yeah.
So those are already there.
Oh, okay.
Also, we're hearing soon from our computer consultant, right?
He is coming next week.
Okay. So that might adjust our computer stuff a little depending on what we're told.
Yeah, probably not, because it's been, we consistently have that funding for him. And with this year, we replaced the server, which was the big ticket.
Okay. Okay.
all right, staff development for the clerk, the 1391, that's based on her driving back and forth to the bank and so forth. So if the new treasurer comes in, that could decrease, right?
Correct. Assessing is the only other big ticket, and that's the revaluation.
What is?
Assessing, we have the
Okay.
revaluation, so
Yeah.
that's an overall increase of 34,000, and that's basically is unavoidable.
What is, are we getting a new voting machine, which?
We got 3 new voting booths.
Oh, okay. So
Um,
voting machine.
Yeah, voting machine, that's the programming for the elections. And so we only had one election last year, so we only had to have it programmed once.
Okay.
We have to pay the company, once the ballots are done by the state for the primary and everything, to program the chip.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can swing all those numbers into the next column. Planning board had no change. Prior to any of these changes, the increase on general government was 57,000, with 34 of that being the reval. And so that number will change just a little bit.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
No.
No? Everyone all set there? Okay.
Health and Human Services. The increase overall was $2,464, and $1,800 of that was for the Richie McFarland Center. Everything else, and Meals on Wheels, $164 increase, everything else is level funded.
Okay. Any questions? Hearing none, moving right along.
Welfare is level funded.
Any questions?
It does look like this year we're going to overexpend welfare. Not by much, but by about $1,200, I think. We have one ongoing rent assistance that's continuing.
Okay.
Culture and Rec is where we have the part-time labor that you were talking about.
Yep. Now, what was done with him? The increase was paid, correct?
Yeah, he is currently at $12 a week, $12 an hour,
Great.
sorry, $12 an hour for 15 hours, for 20 hours a week for 27 weeks. And so Paul requested his wage be increased from $12 to $15 an hour, keeping the hours at 20 hours a week for the 27 weeks.
Yeah, well, I talked to Paul and apparently didn't remember, but all he got done this year was mowing because of the growing season was so tough. We had the rain, the sun, the rain, the sun. And I thought we may want to increase the hours of that part-time person so he get more done of his chores he's supposed to be doing and isn't able to get done.
Okay.
Can't do baseball in August.
Right, no, exactly, yeah.
But he was
Well,
at.
he's significantly underspent at this point. It's 20 hours a week for the 27 weeks. What ends up happening is he'll have a week that he's putting in 30 as the need is, but then other weeks there's less.
Why is there less of the kid can't work, or is it just that?
Rainy days,
Because I do know there's just stuff not getting done.
yeah, I don't know that. But yeah, at this point, it's,
I'll talk to Paul about that because it's, you know, two guys ain't gonna get the whole list done.
right. He was comfortable with the number of hours and just wanted the wage increase.
I'm not, if stuff ain't getting done, I'm not comfortable with it. If they're rushing, and somebody's gonna get hurt, so.
Okay, well, you'll talk to him.
I'll talk to him and see, because I talked to him before, because if you get a lot of rain, you're gonna be busy doing a lot of mowing.
Mhm. Okay. Anything else?
Not at 9:20.
But
Not at
basically,
what?
that is 9:20.
I said not at 9:20.
You should be used to this. You're on the planning board. I mean, you guys used to.
Hey, look,
be
I
there.
started today at 6:30. I'm done.
Well, and this
All right.
is, you basically have gone through the whole budget now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I will plug in all these new numbers, the new formulas, and send it out to you all electronically. And then next week, doesn't sound like we're gonna have much for 911. So
Certainly doesn't.
we may be able to finalize, you'll have all the final numbers and make any further changes.
Okay, sounds good. And next week might be very short.
All right?
All right,
It's just productive.
let's see, payroll.
Chip has payroll in front of him.
I move we hereby approve the tax payroll number 21, pay date October 5th, 2017, period October 2nd, 2017 through and including October 15th, 2017, the amount excluding payroll liabilities of $55,442.91.
Second.
I have a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
The motion passes.
And I have general fund account payable number 21 for October 19th, 2017, the amount of $248,767.20, of which the school is $180,000.
Second.
I have a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Anybody else have one?
No, that's it.
That's it.
Wow, okay. Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you all for a great job, well done.